I'm joined now by Sourbh Gupta, resident senior fellow at the Institute of China-America Studies. Thanks very much for joining us, Sourabh. Now, let's put China-US issues aside just for a moment. What can we expect from this year's two sessions on a domestic level? What are the new government's priorities?
I think the new government's priority is, of course, first setting up a new government. We have the 20th Party Congress. There's going to be quite a lot of turnover in terms of very important senior posts, central bank governor, the finance minister, etc., etc. So, and of course, the premier his name will be announced, and so we will have the government actually formed. But I think the foremost priority thereafter is to really go for growth this year. China's had a difficult past 2-3 years because of COVID. And I think the hope is that once again, with COVID now kind of in the rearview mirror, China can go for growth and go for very fast growth with private sector-led growth, and that China can be a motor for global prosperity in 2023.
That's right. So Parliament is actually meeting for the first time since the end of its COVID-0 policy with the aim to restart the country's growth engine. So what does China's economy need at this point in order to grow in the way that Beijing predicts it will?
What China needs to is the main problem for China has been so far, because of COVID, was consumption. People did not want to spend because people were not confident on that they could go out and not catch COVID and then have to be quarantined. Now they can go out, they want to spend. And the role of the central government is to actually stimulate that process, make the necessary investments so that Chinese consumers feel and producers feel like making the necessary capital investments as well as going out and consuming. But one must also, in that process, think about the challenges, some of the legacy problems which should not be exacerbated in the process. China had a somewhat unbalanced economy, too much investment-led. There should not be too much more further fiscal investment by government. China's property sector, we can't just go back to housing being a motor of growth. Housing has been a motor, but it is becoming increasingly less productive motor of growth. China has to pivot away from that. So that's something to be thought about. Local governments need their balance sheets are not in good state. So the central government needs to resource local governments. So these legacy problems should not be exacerbated, but the focus should still be on growth and going for growth as fast as possible in 2023.
Now, we heard Nathan King talk about the very broad and diverse issues between China and the US this past year. Is this forum mostly about tackling domestic political issues, or are we likely to see some of these issues between US and China and more broad US-China relations come up as well?
Oh, it will come up. I mean, the foreign minister is the new foreign minister is Mr. Qinggang is going to give his press conference at the end of the two sessions. And what is very, very clearly seen in previous press conferences is that China literally sets out its diplomatic goals and strategic goals at the two sessions, even in terms of foreign policy. The important foreign policy investments that it will make in 2023 will be spelled out directly or implicitly in that press conference. And so it's very important from that perspective too. We will get an idea of where China is planning to place its emphasis in its foreign relations at that press conference at the end of the two sessions meeting.
All right, Sourbh Gupta, resident senior fellow at the Institute for China-America Studies. Thank you.
You're welcome.